Hi, I think I want to make a video about looking outside of the maze, looking from an outside's perspective, looking in the life game, looking down at the little pieces moving around and seeing how they're moving around, and how that perspective can be enlightening, but also be the curse that makes the very foundation of your existence mean absolutely nothing. It's about a recognition of truth. Maybe it requires a certain amount of intelligence, insight, all sorts of things, predetermined characteristics, just having a certain predisposition, a disposition based on genetics, whatever it may be, the very nature of this game that we're playing, the life thing. I want to preface this with the idea that obviously we're cannibalizing and we're doing all this kind of thing. We're reacting and interacting with all sorts of other pieces. We're just bumping into each other based on this pre-built kind of chaos mechanism. It's going to happen a certain way, but it's from our perspective, we don't know how all the pieces are going to move. If you have a very analytical mind, you can see how one piece may lead to another. Like playing pool, you can see how the pieces are going to bump into each other based on an intention or something, but you don't necessarily know how the outcome is going to happen regardless. You can see how it can happen, but you don't necessarily know how it's going to happen exactly down to the very last atom or very last photon. So looking from the outside perspective, I want to cover a few points in this video, and it has to do with looking from the outside perspective. And it doesn't matter if you're looking from an outside perspective, you're still dealing with the same processes, even the people that recognize the game. Obviously, we're all still inside the game and recognize the game inside the game. Recognizing inside the deterministic universe doesn't take away from, obviously, you're still in the game, so you're not outside the game, but it doesn't take away from the recognition and reality. It's an idea to live by, and I'm living by an idea that's circulating through a projection in my own brain that's moving me forward in a certain way and recognizing this truth. Me recognizing this truth is part of the mechanism, but this recognizing the truth is something that's pushing me forward pushing me forward based on these other things that interacted into some kind of conclusion, leading me to making future decisions in a certain way. And that goes to the idea that you can't use that as an excuse for things not taking responsibility for yourself. You can still take responsibility. You're still in the game. You're still moving forward. You're still a person taking in ideas. You're the body which these ideas accumulate in, and all sorts of things. You're the thing, the reaction with these other reactions, and something has to take responsibility for the reactions that we're experiencing. It goes to this idea of why the living condition that we're living in, and the living condition is we're cannibalizing off of each other. We're interacting with each other, and that there's nothing we can do about the idea that we're interacting with each other, because that's by definition part of the condition of the existence that we're living in. And so by that definition of existence by which we're living in, there's nothing we can do about these interactions that we're having. And by its very own nature, coming to these conclusions is something that we're driving towards, right? So we're driving towards these conclusions. Sort of like saying, okay, maybe you can't get mad at someone, right? You want to prevent yourself from getting mad because it's always better for you. And it doesn't matter who's suffering. It's a matter of that someone is suffering. The being is suffering. It doesn't. Obviously, we can come down to make value judgments of, okay, this person can take a broken leg more than this person, but it doesn't matter who the person, the projection of the reality of that person. It doesn't matter what that person does. If you hate that person based on your projection, or if they're causing more pain, you causing them pain, unless it's going to prevent further pain, is not justified. So almost saying you can't get mad at someone. Getting mad at someone and punishing them, fighting back, is causing more pain, but that's the very thing that's driving us. That's the thing that gives us moving forward. That's the way the mechanism works based on the very idea of something like these interactions, this cannibalism of reacting with other things. And not getting mad with someone is almost taking away the meaning of life, not, fighting back the mechanism, chasing the game, being chased, fighting back, doing something to give some kind of resistance, some kind of momentum towards something, give a life where its meaning. So fighting back is always giving the life its meaning. And coming to these conclusions, getting smarter and smarter, technologically advancing, becoming more enlightened, coming to these conclusions, recognizing perceptually, projecting different values on the world based on your new recognitions, is obviously what we're moving towards. But that same mechanism of us driving towards some kind of recognizing the end, it's taking away from the value of the fight that made the end, and obviously the revelation of reaching some kind of end, all worth the fight. And coming to these conclusions, it leads to its own frustrations in and of themselves, because these conclusions not only have deal with the implications of the life game that you're playing, but also the conclusions that you come with, and the implications that come with recognizing how everything is moving. There's nothing you can do about it. You're stuck at the mechanism at hand, at the gears grinding, and there's nothing you can do. There's no stick you can do to stop the gears from moving, because the gears are closed off. They're non-existent, but they're gears moving. They're invisible, intangible gears that are just moving, and there's nothing you can do. But they're ghost gears, and you can't do anything to prevent them from moving. So yes, when we're playing this game, we're playing a game where we can't do anything about the mechanisms moving, and the very thing that makes the mechanisms move is the very thing that make the mechanisms very greasy and very, not greasy, but very rusty. The fact that we have to fight back, that's the thing that makes life have any kind of meaning, is fighting back and reaching some kind of end. Causing someone else to pain because they did you bad isn't doing anyone any good. But that's the very thing that's part of the reaction, the built-in reaction. Dealing with the frustration or fighting back and relieving your frustration. Dealing with the frustration or relieving the frustration by causing someone else pain or suffering, or causing yourself pain by kicking the desk but stubbing your toe in return or something. Getting nothing but more pain and frustration out of it, because it's just a self-feedback mechanism, a self-feedback loop that keeps happening over and over again. And there's nothing you can do about it, because that's the way the gears are grinding. They're grinding one way and one way only, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't do anything about the gears grinding. The gears grinding, and they're the atoms moving in a certain way, interacting. That's the very mechanism, the gears grinding, moving forward. And there's nothing we can do to stop them, because they're intangible. And that's essentially the way the reality is working. Not so much a metaphor, an analogy. That's the way life is working, no matter what. That's the way the mechanism works, and there's nothing we can do about it. And that's unfortunate. So yes, the idea of fighting back. Why harm someone else when it doesn't matter who's getting harmed. It's a matter that harm is happening. There's a harmable thing, it's a harmable creature being harmed, and that's the end. It doesn't matter. Obviously, make value judgments for our point of view, which person can deal with this pain more or less. But you have to think about it. A lot of the time, when it comes to the person's ability to take the pain, is because they had to compensate by the pain they experienced beforehand, and that makes them stronger to experience that pain. But obviously, considering all these kinds of possibilities, that's something you have to consider when, this person can take the pain more because they experienced more pain in the past, and obviously they only had to experience that pain because they were thrust into this existence to begin with, only creating a negative potential to experience what positives in this world, to compensate for the negatives only to a certain degree, not completely. That's all we're doing, is we're just feeding the mechanism by existing and doing the same things over and over again. We're letting the consumption let us reproduce, or come to a conclusion, live long enough to reproduce, and reproducing to have more consuming machines that do the same old cannibalizing or same old imposition on everyone else. There's no way to not be imposition. Even by excluding yourself, you're being an imposition, because you can have been there for someone else to help them in a certain situation. Obviously, the gears are grinding a certain way, and there's nothing we can do about it, but it's sort of like you can still take responsibility for something, because you're still in the game and you're still moving forward based on the mechanisms at hand. You're still the accumulation of the ideas and the things that caused you to commit a crime, say, and you're taking responsibility based on the actions, based on a conclusion that's going to happen. You will commit a crime, you will go to jail because you committed a crime, or you committed a crime, and then someone's going to fight back, and that's the mechanism, going back to the idea that someone's going to fight back. And it's about the very nature of this game is cannibalizing and being addicted to all these processes of consuming and reproducing based on an internal biological mechanism that's continuous to move forward and continue the mechanism against our will, based on a biological mechanism and a mechanism that's moving us forward based on previous experiences. One person reproducing, leading to us. There's nothing I could do about them. And they're ignorant. They were before me. I came to this conclusion now, and I'm stuck with this conclusion based on my current experience right now. I didn't have to experience it, but now here I am right now, based on the ignorance and the momentum of moving forward based on previous things happening leading up to where I am, my existence and where I am now. And there's nothing I can do about it. The things happened in the past doesn't mean they didn't happen. They're still there leading to where I am now. Things still happen regardless of me even if you like, I go back to this example, like where you cut your arm off, it's still, your arm was cut off, but it still happened. It led to a conclusion. The fact that one thing leads to another, regardless of this cause and effect thing, that doesn't necessarily apply to it, but based on initial cause leading to a predetermined effect, based on all these different little grinding gears moving together. And all these little pieces bumping into each other is how everything is really moving, and that's what really matters. It doesn't matter if you can regrow your arm back the exact same way as if it never happened. It still happened, leading to a new thing, leading to the idea of what caused, allowed this cure for you regrowing your arm, so that this can happen over and over again. It required something in the past that you didn't have now to lead to this kind of thing, based on the mechanism that didn't allow it to happen to begin with, and so on and so forth. They keep going on. And I want to go on to another thing. I'm going to come back to that real quick. So the idea of, coming to allowing people, I might touch this on a different video. So this idea of the mechanism of, the mechanism of cannibalizing is part of the very nature of reality, making it worth living, how you have to interact and bump into each other based on the mechanism, but also the thing that drives you based on the mechanism, the biological mechanism, causing the purpose mechanism based on the biological mechanism, based on the mechanism creating us, allowing us to experience something moving forward, and momentum, and the momentum is based on these things, such as the interacting. Why harm someone else? But that's a very the reason why we're moving forward is because we know that's the driving force of these interactions and cannibalizing. And even if you don't think you're cannibalizing, it doesn't matter what you think. It's just a process, but you're cannibalizing, or you're interacting regardless. You're still interacting with someone else. You're still interacting. You're still imposing, and that's the very nature. We feed off that imposition. We feed off other people's. We learn lessons. We have to learn those lessons. Moving forward, again, becoming more enlightened, coming to these conclusions, looking outside the game. That's something that moves us forward, but moving forward almost defeats the point. It's about the ride to get there, and once you get there, you might as well end it. And once you end it, what's the point then? You already ended it. It was for no good reason. And it was for no good reason to reach an end based on something that didn't have to happen to begin with. When it was going to lead to nothing, why have it start to begin with when it's going to lead to nothing and only leave negative potential that you had to go through just to reach back to that nothing? So that's all we're playing is a nothing game. And go back to the enlightenment thing, is reaching these enlightenments, looking outside the game, coming to these conclusions only leads to more frustration, sort of like the thing where the very fact that you can't do anything but impose and be imposed on, and saying, well, I can't do it, I know it's just going to cause more harm to that person, leaving more harm. It doesn't matter who it is, but it's a matter of it doesn't matter who it is, but it's but it doesn't matter who it is, but it matters that it's happening, and that's all that matters in the end. It doesn't matter who it's happening to, so it's happening to someone no matter what, and you're trying to prevent that, but that's the very mechanism, that's causing this life game to be worth living at all anyway. So that's the thing that means anything, and sort of like the enlightenment thing, that you're trying to get enlightened. That's the whole point in existing, is moving forward and moving forward, but the forward that leads us to find this enlightenment only leads to frustration and recognition. Looking outside the game only adds to another problem that we're going to have. Life's the problem again. And that leads to another frustration. So the enlightenment game that we're playing only leads to another frustration, leading to another frustration, and we're reaching enlightenment and getting rid of all these problems that we have, only to create another problem. A problem is going to replace another problem, and there's nothing we can do but keep replacing problems. But once we reach in this enlightenment and recognizing everything, there's not going to be much else, and reaching this enlightenment is the thing that gives us purpose. We're interacting with other people, imposing on other people, recognizing this frustration between doing what you know is right and doing what gives you satisfaction, gives you meaning. And the thing that the intelligence gives you the recognition of no meaning beyond the problems that exist in this reality, and trying to combat these problems, and this frustration building up only leads to more dissonance, and then you obviously moving forward, trying to become more moving forward in technology and things, and becoming more enlightened only leads to a dead end anyway. So it's a dead end that way, a dead end this way, frustration. So there's nothing more, nothing less, and I think I might tackle this again, but I think I got it good enough. Sorry for the minor distraction, so thank you, until next time. Bye.